welcome to the Amy Jones Show. We will be starting off with some more recent events in the past few months. People are in desperation, starving and willing to end their lives because of the failure of the economy. As a brief overview, the Great Depression had many effects on all corners of the world. It started with the war ending and many veterans coming home to find out their jobs were already taken. It all started with during the war, production of everyday items was not as demanding because there weren't as many people in the country overall. With this created a surplus of items, making less jobs, more items, and also people weren't as inclined to buy the items. The veterans and their economy and their friends, family, could not afford to buy things that they needed, which slowed the flow of the economy. From there, people went to the banks to try to get more money to sustain themselves, but the banks couldn't help everybody at once. Banks eventually failed, and people went into panic. Here today is a victim of this depression, Bo Smith. He started from a young age. He was always interested in cars and automobiles. He pursued his dreams to try to become a car salesman. Since the recent crisis, he has been released from his job. Like many Americans who trusted the successful economy, in the past, he put his entire life savings into the bank, only to find out that they were failing, and he had lost everything. So, how did you lose your job in the first place?
The way I lost my job was our boss could not our boss could not provide the money for us to keep us there, so he started laying people off. And when I was laid off, I didn't have enough money to support me and my family. It was becoming harder and harder to provide food and whatnot. So sooner or later, things started getting worse. I was fighting to keep my home and everything.
Very sad. Very sad. I'm sorry about that. Do you see any previous signs in your business? Were there any problems that you saw earlier?
I did not. I saw a few in mine before I got laid off, but I saw more out there because I saw more and more people on the streets than usual. I heard about more people getting laid off their jobs, more people going to different areas to find somewhere to go. People could not keep their homes or anything.
Yeah. Terrible. So, Bo, tell me, how do you manage to get by these days?
Well, that's a good question. I'm kind of struggling to keep my family together because I can't provide for them, so we can't pretty much go anywhere that we want, so we have to settle for a place called Hooverville, where apparently everyone is going, so we have to live on the streets with everyone else.
Yeah. Who do you think is responsible for this crisis? People blame many other sources, but what do you think?
I think it's the government's fault, because honestly, I trusted them to keep my money safe. I wanted them to keep my money so that when I needed it, I can go there and get it. But it seems like we can't trust them anymore, so unless it gets better, I won't be able to put my money to the government anymore.
Yeah, I see. And what do you think a possible solution for this could be?
A possible solution could be some of the more wealthy people could start giving the money to the government or giving it to us to help us or pay the banks so they can get back on track with what they're doing, so we won't have to suffer through what we're doing.
Yeah, good point. Do you see any hope for the future? Why do you think so?
Honestly, I only see a little hope because if the economy and government keeps acting like this and they keep messing up, I won't be able to have any hope. I'm pretty sure no one will be able to have any hope in the government.
Yeah, that is true. Do you think things will go back to normal eventually, or anything?
Not if it's like this. I don't think nothing's going to go back to being normal. I mean, it's going to take a long time for everybody to get back to where they were.
Right.
Because there are some things that you can't have anymore because it's gone now. Like you have to earn all your money back, and you have to get a new secure house, buy more clothes and everything.
It is very difficult to do. This is very interesting, Mr. Smith. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I wish you the best of luck. We will return after this commercial.
Hi, do you like President Hoover? Because this man sure as heck does. This man lost his job because of President Hoover, and no one likes losing their job. He especially does not like losing his job. I am Tom Hillman. I am running for president in 1932. This young man is on my side. He's going to vote for me, and I appreciate him for doing that. And I just want all of you to know that I will be the best president I can possibly be, and I will support the country as much as I can. And please vote for me. Tom Hillman.
Welcome back. If you missed us earlier, we reviewed the main events of the Great Depression and its causes. We even had a very interesting interview with a recent victim of the Great Depression, so I recommend you tune back into our website to see this again. Now, as a special guest today, I am here with Tom Hillman. He will be running for president in the election of 1932. Currently, he is the governor of Vermont and has seen the worst of America just like everybody else. The exception is that he has a simple plan. So, Tom, tell me, how do you plan to fix this Great Depression and prevent this from happening in the future?
The first thing I will try to do is provide a monthly pension for anyone that is 65 or over, because if they don't have any money or they lost it all to the Depression, then they have no way of supporting themselves. They're going to be homeless, and it's not very good when people 65 or older are homeless. So that's the first thing I'll try to do. And then another thing I will try to do is provide investors in the stock market with more accurate information to feel confident when purchasing stocks. Because if they don't feel confident when purchasing stocks, they aren't going to purchase them. They'll just let them go, and that's not good for the company that they were going to purchase with. And also, if the stock market is plummeting, then they want to get out as soon as they can. So if I can provide them with more accurate information up to date, then that'll have them feeling more comfortable. I'll also try to prevent wrongdoing with the stock market, such as insider trading, because that's one of the worst things that happens inside the stock market, and I want to try and prevent that as much as I can.
Very good. Very interesting plan. How do you plan to keep the prices down in America and get America back on its feet?
I plan to keep prices down by producing only what is needed for the people in America and exports to other countries, and prevent as much surplus as I can. Because if we have surplus, then we're not going to have any jobs for anyone. Everyone's going to have to be laid off again, just like the Great Depression started. So that's one of the things I'll try and stop.
So what do you think went wrong?
Well, during the 1920s, stock prices had reached all-time highs and continued to rise. The people of America never stopped and thought about what would happen if the economy were to get bad, especially this bad. The people continued to invest more and more money because they thought times would never be bad again, so they eventually invested most, if not all, of their money. They left no money on the side for a safety net. They invested all of it into banks, and when the stock markets crashed, the people had no money left. The people who did set money aside for the banks rushed to get it from the banks, and eventually the banks had no money left, so they failed. And the people it wasn't good for the people who did that. And some people never got their money back, leading them to be very poor and or homeless.
Very nice. Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great weekend, and tune back in Monday for the latest information.